I've also seen some great things happening this weekend with the wrestling tournament, so that wasn't mentioned. I did want to point that out. And as the holiday season continues, I look forward to hearing one of our MAM students of the month and the rest of our performers this Wednesday at the MAM's winter concert. And then of course we have ACES and the high school doing their winter concerts next week. So as we get ready for the holidays, there's just always some interesting and fun events to participate in. But tonight, again, I didn't say my name, is Suzanne Johnson. As everyone knows, I'm a district parent, resident, taxpayer, and voter. And again, I'm going to express my concern about the brash disregard that that U.S. LASD officials have shown for open government laws. Despite the numerous violations that we've experienced this year, all but one board member voted last week to keep the same board leadership, which is very concerning. Last week, I reiterated the same concern that I shared a few months ago about officials wanting to celebrate right to know law appeal findings as successful because there were no records to provide as a result of deleting records. It's ironic that the board will vote on the public records and data governance, storage, and security policies tonight when you delete records, so there isn't anything to give when a right to know law request is submitted. Regarding emails, last month the board president indicated that Dr. Weaver's solicitors have advised school board members to, quote, always delete them from the top, then you don't have anything to give anybody. According to the EPA Office of Open Records FAQs, quote, improperly deleting or destroying agency records before or after the right to know law request has been filed could result in a bad faith finding by a court or in criminal charges where appropriate. I haven't gotten response to my concerns and questions, including the one I asked last week about what is the backup or recovery plan for emails to protect against unintentional or intentional data loss that results from things such as deleting emails. Now that the officials have had a chance to get on the same page, perhaps tonight we'll hear how they want to spin a response to this latest controversy. That has implications not only for our district, but for other school boards throughout the region, represented by the same legal firm. After last week's meeting, I walked out in the hallway and found that the board vice president and solicitor were having a discussion in front of another board member's spouse. When they saw me, the discussion abruptly ended, leading me to logically deduce that the conversation was probably about the legal concerns I had raised during my public comments. In my opinion, it is no win for voters and taxpayers if the standard operating practice is to delete records in order to avoid disclosure. Again, I'll reiterate, those that have nothing to hide nothing. Now I'll turn to finance concerns. Last month, the superintendent said he anticipated our district's portion of the ACTI building project will be $10 million over 20 years, and thus expects to raise taxes 1% a year for 3 years in order to build up to the $500,000 per year that will be necessary to cover that investment. Yet all but one board member voted to transfer nearly all of the budget surplus to the capital projects reserve instead of the ACTI investment fund in order to reduce future tax burdens. When looking at each of these spending measures, keep in mind that for each $500,000 you spend on capital projects, that's the equivalent of one annual ACTI building project payment. After all, but that one board member approved spending over $500,000 on the baseball and softball fields last month, tonight we'll be voting on spending another $3.4 million on facility projects that weren't included in the middle school and high school or the ACES and Rolling Acres consolidation projects. Are each of these additional capital projects being voted on tonight worth nearly 7 years of ACTI investment that could have been funded by money already collected instead of new tax revenue? I will remind you that the district voters asked for change in the polls last year, and instead are seeing significant spending and transparency concerns. Next year, 5 positions will be on the ballot. 3 of you that are completing terms for people that resigned, and 2 that are completing full terms. I pray voters are better informed and elect people that will actually bring positive change to improve fiscal responsibility, increase transparency, and improve student outcomes in our district. Thank you.
On to, I need a motion on the floor to approve the regular board meeting minutes of the meeting of November 18th, 2024.
So moved.
Second, Janelle Wrestler.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I need a motion to approve the curriculum, co-curriculum, and policy policy meeting of November 26, 2024.
So moved. Steve Gerber.
Second, Nicole.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I need a motion on the floor to approve finance, property, and supply on November 26, 2024.
So moved, Nicole.
Second by Dwayne Sullivan.
Second. Do I have any comment? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I need approval for the, motion to approve the, minutes for the reorganization meeting of November 2nd, 2024.
So moved, Dwayne Sullivan. Oh, sorry.
Well, you can second it.
Second.
Second.
There, Brendan, seconds. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. I need a motion to approve the minutes for the work session of December 2nd, 2024.
So moved, Nicole.
Second,
Steve
Janelle
Gerber.
Wrestler.
Any discussion?
Yes.
Okay, what do we got?
First of all, no, I just want to thank Carrie for the one thing she changed and put the solicitor as attending the meeting. And the only other thing I want to say is, I did what I was asked to do by Carl, I emailed to you. I'm going to say, just for my purposes, I'm not going to approve these minutes because I think that that should have been put in there too, along right below you. So that's where I'm going to leave it. I think this, we're going to run into a problem. I understand reaching out to you is the best way. I get it, and I did. But I just don't agree with the decision, if you don't mind. So.
Wait, you're saying because what you emailed isn't in there?
No. The discussion I had after I talked to Carrie and acknowledged she was the right-to-know officer, we then went to Eric. He was the storage. Dr. Neal, I apologize. Or with the doctors, especially unless I'm going to the doctor. I was talking, and I acknowledged, he acknowledged that he stores the data, but that wasn't put in the minutes. And so I wrote to Carrie saying, hey, should we put that in there? Because you're stated in there as right to know officer, and he's not stated in there as the person that stores, archives it, as you said, archives it. That was my point.
But, my statement was that the policy we were discussing had Eric listed as the person that covers all of that, and that was part of the discussion.
I agree with
But
that.
yeah, I mean,
It
if you
wasn't
guys
an
want me to
official-
elaborate.
It's
further,
not a big deal, I
This is the
thought.
transcription, this is the minutes. Quick, or snapshot.
Okay.
I just thought it would just cement it, but that's fine.
Any other discussion? All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Vote.
Steve, you're up.
Okay, under Finance, Property, and Supply Committee report, does anyone have any items they wish to pull and voted on separately?
A, C,
I just want to pull these so we can do on this further. Oh, we can do it in there.
Yeah, you
All right,
can do it.
okay, all right, we're not doing that.
You might as well, because it's only the three anyway, so technically you're gonna pull them anyway. Okay, go ahead.
All right. In the form of a motion, recommend approval of item A.
I have a motion on the floor to approve, recommending public school facility grant projects. Do I have a second?
Second, Janelle Wrestler.
Discussion.
does anybody else go up? I want to go. My concerns with this are the same concerns I had with you, the 3.2 million. I think they were going too far on this project. Originally, because I watched very carefully, it was supposed to be a 75-25, 75 state, 25 Littlestown district. It now turns out it's 1585 by Tom's admission in the meeting. That to me seems a bit pricey for the district right now, considering we do have issues with I would say, retaining the money for ACTI without raising taxes. I would like to have seen some of this money go towards that instead of the inevitable thing I fear is going to come this coming June. But that didn't happen. So for that reason, I'm a no vote on this, not because we don't need the windows, not because we don't need the air conditioning, just because I think we went a little further. My calculations were if we had $500,000 towards the windows and the air conditioning, we probably would be around $620,000 from the district if we only did that, but we're going a lot further with the pneumatics and stuff like that. So for me, it's a no-go for that reason.
All of this was in addition. The whole.
No, it's not. You're adding the pneumatics in there.
Pneumatic is air conditioning.
Well, I mean, that was in the original thing, though. I mean, if you're getting $500,000, if you're getting 15% of the money, and we're spending 85%,
Better than spending 100%.
well, okay, so if you're buying a new truck, if I give you $10, are you gonna go buy it and give it to me? I mean, that doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, you probably should take a finance class, because you're not, your mother's been helping you.
Well, you're not gonna insult me.
Yes,
That's
a little
that's
bit.
me personally.
Well, I'm not insulting you. Nobody's insulting you, I'm just making a statement.
Absolutely.
Mr.
That
Davis,
wasn't
I mean,
insult.
Mr. Sullivan, personal comments do not need to come out, period.
Also, we're not allowed to talk.
You're not allowed to
We're
insult
not allowed to
somebody,
talk.
you're
I'm
not
not
allowed
write
to
that
insult
down.
somebody.
We're not allowed to
You're
talk.
not allowed to insult
Or
somebody.
no more transparency.
They do it all the time.
No more
No
transparency.
more trans,
Yeah, you just said it. No more transparency.
no, you can have a discussion, but do not make it personal.
Well, he came into the discussion.
He came in and you threw a personal comment in that was not relevant, had nothing to do with
It
it.
is relevant.
And it has nothing to do,
You have to know
it has
what-
nothing to do with the business at hand.
It does.
What happens in his personal life has nothing to do with his school
They
district.
have to be,
No, it doesn't, because we can definitely bring things up that are happening in other people's lives that we don't need to bring up. So we just
Oh,
need to bring up
do we
anything
change the
that has to
policy
do with.
now, Carl? Because we have brought all stuff up on me.
No.
But we stopped it for everybody else.
No, we haven't, okay.
Yes, you have.
All right, no, we haven't, we're moving on.
That's all on
All those in
video.
favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
Motion carries.
Recommend the form of approval of the following discussions on the anonymous donation.
I have a nomination, or a motion on the floor to approve an anonymous donation. Do I have a second?
Second.
Business partner.
Jinx.
I have a first and I have a second.
Oh, we just want to thank the anonymous donors for their donation, so we appreciate it.
Thank you. And I think somebody knows exactly who, and do we send an anonymous note back?
I have spoken to you.
Okay, and we appreciate that. Okay. All those, we have a first and a second, comments are all done, do we have a vote of all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay. In the form of a motion, we have payment of invoices. Payment fund, activity funds, student activity, capital projects, and go bond checks. And flight contracts.
I have a motion on the floor to approve receipt payment of invoices, do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion.
I do have some discussion.
Okay.
On the solicitor invoices, here's my issue. I went back and did research on the report outs by the superintendent, both superintendents, I should say, and I have compared it to the invoices. I have noticed that a lot of times there was no report out to the board. And another thing, we haven't gotten any solicitor reports since 9/5. None. None. And I noticed it was reviewed on one of the invoices, the reason why I brought up, on 10/4 or 10/11. And it was changed, but we've never seen it. I've never seen October, November, or December's solicitor report. I know we had 9/5, that's all we've had. And maybe July.
That's it, Melissa doesn't normally report out.
Yeah. What is it that you're looking for?
Well, they give us the report out, which is a more detailed report. It comes confidential. That's what was being sent to us. It was sent to us in July, it was sent to us September 5th.
I can certainly research that, Mr. Sullivan, and see what's happening and what reports are there and find out and report back.
Thank you.
Well, it was 4 years and I never got a solicitor.
It changed when we did 012. because they don't want to put details in the bills. So they said, instead, we'll just send you a confidential solicitor report.
That's not true.
That is true. That is true, because even the lawyer, Chris Harris, told me he doesn't want details in the bill because he doesn't want it read.
Okay, so Mr. Walker, our superintendent will look into it and we'll be back in touch with us. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of paying the bills, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, just want to note, items D 1 through 7 are noted.
Under personnel, are there any items that need to be pulled and voted on separately?
Okay. We always do.
Yes.
Is there still discussion on these if we don't pull them? And we vote on all of them?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay.
All right, hearing none others. In form of motion, recommend approval of personnel items C, D, E, F, G, H, I, and J.
There's a motion on the floor to approve C, D, E, F, G, H, I, and J. Do I have a second?
Second, Mary Brown.
Is there any discussion on C, D, E, well, the list?
I just want to say, I think it's awesome to see the students that recently graduated from our districts coming back. Zach Ader and Cameron Indy are both recent graduates for the last few years. I think Sam just graduated. And coming back and getting back to the athletic program, I think is amazing and phenomenal. I love seeing the students do that.
Is there any other discussion?
Yes, Dr. Mitchell, I would like to ask you about the change in the volunteer recommendation,
Sure,
if you wouldn't mind.
sure. I think I shared this a few meetings ago, but there seemed to be a little discrepancy between hiring practices. When we hire someone, that individual is vetted through a number of interviews, their research, they talk, we get a number of folks, and administration makes a recommendation to the board for their approval. In the past, volunteers would come through, and volunteers, all they needed to do was simply go fill out a form, and all of a sudden, Mrs. Golden has a number of volunteers showing up at Maple Avenue. Mr. Moran has a number of volunteers showing up at Alloway Creek and has no idea what they're there for. So the simple process change in this was to be able to put our principals back in charge of who comes in, make sure they're vetted, so that when it comes to the board and the board can approve, if there are questions about those volunteers, those individuals can share their background, their information, and why those individuals are coming to volunteer. This is included in Mrs. Young as well.
Yeah, I noticed that. Now, what if they don't know?
Their
What if
job
the
as
person doesn't have children in the district?
As I shared with the building principals and Mrs. Young, it is their job to be in charge of the building and the programs that they have. So if they don't know them, they know the teachers that the volunteers are coming for, and they work with those teachers to build an understanding of what's happening. I think just as I was a building principal for a number of years, I was always keyed in on who was coming in and why they were coming in, and I believe it is their responsibility to be in charge of their building.
So if I went back to the volunteer thing, resubmitted, you're saying that I have to be pretty much, one of the principals have to say yes.
What I would say, Mr. Sullivan, as for the folks that are coming through the buildings, is the building principal's job, because they are not aware, the board is not aware of who those individuals are, so we need someone to recommend them. Board members are here every week or every meeting. Board members work with each other very intimately, and I would say that the board members know who the board members are, and there is no need for a building principal or athletic director to recommend a board member for volunteer status.
I was just wondering if that's what I have to go through. Be back on the list.
Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motions on the floor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Form of motion to recommend approval of the resignation of Quinn Fossman as the legal administrator effective January.
I have a motion on the floor to recommend the resignation of Quinn Bossman, effective January 10th, 2025. Do I have a second?
Second, Mayor Brennan.
Thank you. Okay. Dr. Nail, do you have anything to say or comment?
Gonna miss him, for sure. Quinn started here as a graduate of Penn State University through a contracted services, and we felt very highly on Quinn's performance and abilities. Brought him on board, I think he's been a Littlestown employee for 6 of those 7 years. But he's been on the ground floor from a student information system that was antiquated to a system being adopted and implemented through Sapphire and all of those processes as well, from going from a lab in middle school and a high school to one-to-one secondary, and as well through Alloy creating classroom devices. Definitely core member of our technology team that will be missed for sure.
One of the bigger and better things, I think.
It's always bigger and better. It's always bigger and
That's
better.
always, that's a compliment. That's a
Oh,
compliment.
absolutely, absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
well, I will be missed. So, I have a motion and a second, and comment, and any other comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
The form of motion to recommend approval of the retirement of Mr. Lonnie